Welcome to my online classes. The purpose of this recording is to basically help you navigate through my courses. I know some of you already have taken online classes, so you have an idea of how that works. But I want you to make sure you follow at least the way I do things in here. It may be useful if you have done them differently somewhere else. And hopefully it's going to make sure that you pass the classes that I teach online with flying colors. Uh, what I have here is my Astronomy 120. This is the old naming, so if you're looking at this one under the new naming, it's going to be called Astronomy 1001. And this is an online class. There are 3 online classes that I teach on campus. There is the regular semester class. There is the shortened version that called the late start class. Usually that's about 3 weeks or 4 weeks, sometimes shorter than the regular class. And then there is the accelerated class that is usually offered in summer sessions. Those ones are, they happen in a span about 4 to 5 weeks, the entire course. So what I'm going to talk about in here is for the regular online class. Understand whatever I say in here in terms of workload will be augmented, will be added to if in case it's a shortened class, because the content is the same. So the content is the same and the time span is going to be less, you're supposed to do more during those shortened courses, okay? So what I'm looking at in here is an online class. When you land on it, this is how it looks like. Uh, Please understand that some of the things in here will be different for your class. But the main thing in here is that I want to make sure that you're aware of is the link to the models. You can get to it in one of 2 ways, either through the main page or through the link on the left pane. There are 2 left panes, 2 sides to the left pane. There is this one inside the course and there is this one outside the course. Inside the course is where the modules link is. So this is your bread and butter. This is where you're most of the time are going to spend your time, basically doing coursework. On the right pane on this side and here, there is a link that says to do. That's Canvas way of trying to give you a head start or a heads up, basically, of what's coming in here to do. And you're going to be aware of those things. I really don't recommend that you go by the to do unless it's an emergency. So the plan in my classes is to work off of the modules link. Obviously, I have the syllabus, usually I have an open discussion item. If in case you have a general question, not related to grades or specific coursework that you're supposed to deliver and things like that, but if you have a general question, this is a good place to use it for the open topic class discussion. That's basically for me or your peers to come in and basically interject and hopefully give some insights into that point and that. It doesn't necessarily have to be discussion. It could be a question. It could be whatever you feel like needs to be brought up to the attention of everybody. So again, this is what the main action is. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that for right now. I'm going to put it on a hold because there is another place in here of interest, and that is announcements. So on a regular basis, you will be receiving notifications from me through the announcements. Those are general announcements, whether for assignments that are due, whether or not for important things that are happening in that week, whether or not for updates and things like that. So I want you to set up your system so that your announcements will come directly to your email address. So if you go on the further left pane, there are 2 of them. There is where the announcements and the models are, and there is this one. If you go to your account and you set it up so that when there is a new announcement, it goes to your preferred email address. That way you're always aware of what's going on and keeping up with the coursework, okay? So that's basically one way of doing things. Now, if you decide to send me a message You will have in the syllabus my email address and also my office number. Those are options for you to do. However, the best way to communicate with me is through the inbox. Again, it's in the same pane where there is the account and the stuff that is related to you. There is the inbox. You click on the inbox and you send a message to me. That way I know exactly which course you're coming from. So if you have a general question on a specific assignment, like the quiz, for example, then I know which course you're talking about, because I have so many sections on campus of even astronomy itself. So even if you say that you're an astronomy student, it's not really helping much because I have so many sections, and the names, sometimes there is an overlap with them. Sometimes even the first and last name are similar. So it's very hard for me to know based on an email address, especially if that email address has something like, I don't know, uh, somebody had like a 1996 Chevy or something like that, his favorite pickup truck. So he puts it as his email address at gmail.com, and I have no idea who that person is and which course he's talking about or she's talking about. So the best way to communicate with me is through the inbox. That way I pick up your name, your course, and then the specific question that you have. Okay? So this is in general setup. So the inbox is the way to communicate. The account is where you set it up so that you receive notifications for regular announcements. Please pay attention to those because sometimes they have deadlines. Okay. Of course, you can come to the announcements and check with them, but that becomes really too much if you have to do it, especially for every course every day. It's going to be too much of a load. So it's much better actually to just set it up to your email address. Let's go to the main, basically, the bread and butter of this class, which is the models link. If I click on it, and I click on it from both ways, I clicked at it from the main page, but I could have clicked at it from here. The way I line up my courses, depending actually on the semester, is either on weeks or in periods, okay? So for a regular semester class, it's going to be in weeks. For another one, it's going to be different. It's going to be called basically different units. So every week we'll have an objective. May or may not have discussions. Most of my online classes will have weekly discussions. Most of the times graded, sometimes they're not. And then you will have the content. This is a summary basically of what's been discussed during that week. And then you have the PowerPoints, okay? In this case, you have 2 units. And you will have a week session, which is really video recording of this unit. So if I go back to click on one of the sessions, I will see the units that were talked about in there. And those are the 2 units that are mentioned in the week, basically what you're supposed to be reading. I'm going to talk about that very shortly so that you know. Okay, these units usually are short videos, around 15, 20 minutes, probably less, maybe 10 minutes. So let me click on it to see the time, that's all. So I'm going to stop it. This is 11.56 minutes, so it's 12 minutes, really. This one, let me stop it again. This is 15 minutes, 41 seconds. It's 16 minutes. So that's the average. About 15 minutes, okay, on average. These are 2 units, okay? So let me go back to this week. Let me go click on here, just to change the way that we clicked on it. So we have 2 units, and then we have the recordings for them. We have discussion items, okay? And you're supposed to be doing also the online reading. I mean, the reading on your book, okay? So which units I'm gonna read? Units 5 and 6. Which units I'm gonna read for week 2? 7, 8, and 9. 3 units. And I have a quiz actually, so assignments also start to pop up in a different weekly in here. You have to understand that these weeks are not all available. This is from a previous class. What you're looking at in here, Astronomy 120, Section 70, this is from spring of 2026, okay? Yours will be, the name will be different because it's going to show Astronomy 1001. and your section is going to be shown in there, okay? And then it's going to be either fall 2026, whatever, summer, yeah, summer 2027, and so on and so forth. So it's going to reflect your specific semester, okay? And it's going to reflect the correct name of the course in here too, with a specific section. So anyway, like I said, the weeks are not going to be all showing at once. They are going to be released on an incremental fashion. So you really need to keep up with your work. And this is why I was saying from the beginning, this is where the most of the action is happening. Not this is where all the action is happening. Forget about that to do, unless there is an emergency, like I said. Okay. So again, this is week 2, same stuff. Assignments. Week 3, assignments, and same stuff. There is only 1 unit. Okay. So the number of units for my astronomy classes, they vary, okay? So it's not necessarily that you have 1 unit per week. 2 units, and more assignments, and more units, and some other projects involved, okay? For your specific class, for your specific semester, for your specific section, we're going to have dedicated sessions where we're going to discuss basically how to do these things, okay? So you're not left on your own. So it's not like you have a project and now go and figure it out on your own, or you have a homework assignment now, go ahead and figure it out on your own, or you have a midterm that is coming, now it's your problem. No, you're going to have guided basically instructions and help trying to make sure that you pass the class. But the key thing that I'm trying to communicate in here for you is there is an order and you have to follow it, okay? So if you are not taking this class online, if you are taking it on person, and I taught this very same class in person, we meet on campus for every class like this one twice a week, about an hour and a half, okay, 3 hours a week. Some classes, that instead of doing 2 separate sessions, they'll link them together, so you'll have 3 hours and 20 minutes because the college requires that you do a 20-minute break, so it's really 3 hours instructions. 1 hour and a half, take a break 20 minutes, another hour and a half, and then everybody goes home. 3 hours and 20 minutes, okay, of basically dedicated time. This is what I also want you to do, even though you are at home. This is the same amount of time, so you really have to plan a schedule so that you have to set yourself on schedule. Yes, you are on your own in terms of what time you decide to do. You could work on an afternoon, a given day, like weekday, like on a Wednesday or Friday or whatever day you have convenient for you, or Saturday morning and then Sunday morning. My recommendation for you is try to split them apart. Don't link them together. It becomes too much, especially with distractions that are happening around. It's very hard to do 3 hours straight, okay? So do an hour and a half, another hour and a half. I mean, you're saying, what am I going to do in an hour and a half? Well, you have a lot of videos. Each and every one of them is about 15 minutes. So this is week, you have about half an hour of videos to watch. That's helped you go through the units. Then you have to read actually this units. Add to it another at least half an hour, 45 minutes. Add to it other assignments too. So the amount starts to build up. The time starts to build up. This is for a regular semester course. For a shortened course, you have to spend more time because this weeks, first of all, they will become basically a kind of different names because you will have 1 week, you do a lot of work in it. So it's going to have more units in that week because you chose to take the shortened version of the class. And it's the same amount of work because at the end, receiving an A in this version of the class or an A in this version of the class need to be the same content, the same knowledge, the same basically course outline of record. That's what we go by in colleges. Okay? At the end of the day, you're assessed based on the content in the course itself. So the fact that you're taking, for example, a 1 month version in the summer does not mean that you're taking versus, for example, a 3 or 4 month version in the fall. doesn't mean that you're going to take a third of the core class and then you're going to call it the same. So you're going to take the same amount. So my point in here is, if you're taking a short version of the same classes, this time spent starts to become longer. So instead of dedicating 3 hours a week, you're going to be dedicating more, 6 hours potentially a week, more potentially, depending. Okay. If you take an in-person class in the summer session, they meet from 8 o'clock in the morning until past noon, till like 1 p.m. About 5 hours. Yes, they have breaks in between, but that takes into account the fact that you have to cover the same content that you would have to cover if you were to take the class in person in a regular semester. So that's basically the idea behind it. So I really want you to make sure that you're working with a plan. And the plan is allocate time during your week. I understand some of you are going to high school still, some of you are working, some of you have family obligations, some of you have other things going on. But since you opted to take this class, you have to do that. You have to allocate time for yourself. You come 1 week, for example, especially week one, for example, and you see that, okay, from the entire 3 hours, I spent probably 2 hours only, and the other hour I didn't have. Well, that is actually intended to be it was planned to be in purpose. Although, if you really are careful, there is some more assignments. So really, the time should be spent correctly. Should be the entire time should be spent. Should should be covered, okay, by the amount of content that you have. Because even in a regular in-person class, you're taking, yes, you're going to take you come to class and you go home, you take a class, you go to home, but then you have homework assignment afterwards, and you have reading assignments afterwards, and you have other things related to your work. So you'll find yourself spending about 50% of more of that time at home. So if you take a 3 hours class on campus, it's going to amount to another hour and a half to 2 hours more to really get the most out of that class. And the same thing is happening in here. The first week you're going to spend probably 3 hours. Then after that, it's going to be 3 hours, maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And then it's going to start to build up. Okay. At some point, yes, it's going to lighten a little bit, but some other times. So the average is about, really, for a class like this one, I would say about 4.5 hours a week. And that's normal. You would do that even if you are not coming to class. You're going to do that even if you are coming to class on campus. You're going to do it online. The only advantage of doing it online is you do it at your own pace. Nobody is really, I mean, guiding you in person and saying, "Oh, okay, you have to stop in here, you have to do this, you have to do that," like the ones who they do it on campus. I hope that you guys understand how this class is structured. Okay. I hope that from day one you start on this coursework, and you don't let up, you don't stop until the course ends, and you get the most from it if and only if you dedicate the time for it as you're supposed to do. If you have any questions, again, the inbox is here. Please send messages, and hopefully everything will be cleared. Again, every semester, every class, I have their own orientation. So this is not in lieu of the orientation. You will have your own orientation to talk more in details about your specific course. And also there will be more sessions dedicated to specific assignments like projects, homework assignments, midterms, and things like that. Okay, thank you.